Hello folks, welcome back to the channel and thank you for joining me once again. You are always most welcome. So, we're getting to the end of Matchbox March, the 50th anniversary of Lesney's Matchbox range of model kits. And I've been doing my little sort of tribute, and we've had 2 or 3 videos a week throughout the month, many of which have been only made possible because of helpful donations or loans of model kits from you viewers. So it's really been, I couldn't have done this without repeating things, and I haven't repeated anything. I haven't done any reviews that I've done before. They've all been new items to me, so I've really enjoyed it. I've got to say it's all been quite filling in some gaps, 1 or 2 quite important ones. A few days ago we had that amazing Lysander. I think I was in a bit too much. That amazing Lysander that we had, the 32nd scale kit, which belongs to a gentleman called John Fogo, who's been very generous indeed and given me a couple of kits already. To my amazement, he was so impressed when I sent him back his Lysander all exactly as it arrived. He sent me another one just to keep, and he said, "Oh, it's okay." He said, "Just as a thank you, I want to send you the Gloucester Gladiator." Now, I have to say I've punched the air when I opened the box, simply because I did mention, perhaps he saw this, I don't know if you did, John, maybe it's just luck or instinct, but I've never had this one, never had the Gladiator. Kept meaning to buy it. I was always about to literally hand over the money, and then, oh, there's a Messerschmitt 262, or oh, there's a Mustang or something. There's also something slightly more glamorous in my mind that I maybe identified a bit more with, and it's really riled me in recent years. I mean, yes, I can go on eBay and pay silly prices, and I do sometimes, but I keep thinking, why didn't you get the Gladiator? Because it's a more important aircraft than people think it is. Most people look at it and say, oh yeah, World War One. Those that don't know, of course. Well, of course, it came in the interwar years and late 20s, early 30s. We'll get into that. I think it's about 33. But actually this aircraft had a disproportionate impact in the Second World War for a very brief few weeks over the island of Malta. Now what happened was, this is in June 1940, now Britain stands alone. We're fighting the Luftwaffe. Hitler's Nazi army have taken over France, and Britain is in, and the whole of the free world, I've talked about this before, but go and see my Battle of Britain video if you want to really enjoy some history. But of course we were in real trouble, and the whole of the freedom of the whole world was under great threat and peril. So we could not afford to lend them any Spitfires to the island of Malta, you know, and the island of Malta came under attack from the Italians, who of course, as one of the Axis powers, they joined with the Germans. They sided with the Nazis. Mussolini had taken over in Italy, and they were attacking any British enclave or dependency that was out there in the Mediterranean, and the people of Malta took a hell of a pounding. I mean, they just bombed the island, something rotten. So there was a couple of, I mean, it literally was a couple of maybe 3 or 4 hurricanes, and there was actually 6 Gladiators. Now, unfortunately, they didn't have 6 serviceable aircraft, so there was only 3 that were serviceable at any one time. And they fought this most incredible battle against the Italians over the island, and it went on for some weeks. And they got this nickname. These 3, there was always 3 of them, and the locals on the island nicknamed them Faith, Hope and Charity, and they would literally be cheering them on, and they would be dogfighting with superior aircraft. The Italians had got the Macchi C-200, a proper monoplane fighter. This was a biplane, it was World War One technology, but we had pilots that were very skilled, and what they would do is, sometimes they would have these hurricanes with them, sometimes they didn't. But if the hurricanes were around, they would try and give top cover, and the Faith, Hope and Charity, the Gloucester Gladiators, would go in to attack the bombers. So it's almost like the Battle of Britain, one step of history removed. Now the hurricane's the superior one, you know. And luckily the Macchi I mentioned wasn't that good a plane, that it was shooting everything down. It was good, it was better, but we had a chance, a fighting chance, and we had some incredible pilots in those planes. And the locals, it's lots of famous stories about, they would come out on the streets and cheer these aerial battles above their heads, and of course, King George V, he actually awarded the Victoria Cross the whole island of Malta, so it became very famous, of course, and it was really driven by this just literally handful of pilots. I mean, this gang made the few look like a crowd. There's so few of them, you know, just 3 guys in Gladiators, and the aircraft would rotate because they'd get shot to bits and they'd be repairing them. They'd wheel out the other one that's just been fixed. So that's actually quite an important thing, and they staved them off long enough that they then eventually got the more Hurricanes came, and then in 1941 they got the Mark V Spitfires on Malta, and then as they did with later with Crete, of course. And then it was more of an even fight, but it cemented this aircraft's place in history. And if you've never heard that story, I urge you, go and look it up on YouTube. You know, go and read up about it, because it was very, very tough. It was like the Battle of Britain, only worse, because they had even worse odds. So they were saying they were going up against 100 aircraft, and there was only 3 of them. So the fact that they survived, I think one of the pilots may have been shot down. I don't know the full story, but I think 2 of them survived the battle, shall we say. So I think we should take a look at this wonderful gift that John has sent me, which I'm very grateful to him for. Thanks, John. And he made a comment which really made me laugh as well. He said something to the effect of, "I know how you like kits that are red," and as you'll see in a minute, they've gone for red plastic again. And I know that people find this quite amusing, because we've had a few of these early Matchbox ones which have had the red plastic. So let's have a look here. I'll bring you in. First of all, let's have a close look at the artwork, because that's very nice. So this is actually a disappointment with this artwork, because they're just on a training flight, which I thought was a bit disappointing. They should really have had Faith, Hope or Charity in the picture and battling over Malta with the Italians. But anyway, it says number 73 Squadron Gladiators from Digby, which I think is in Yorkshire, on interception exercises over the North Sea in 1938. And we've got here PK8. This is one of the very first tranche of the Matchbox kits. This particular one is indeed one of the first tranche. It's 1973. I'm not sure if this one came in a top opening, lid opening box or not, if I'm honest. I'm not too clear on that. But here we go. What did I just say about the colour of the plastic, which John thought was going to be quite amusing? It's the Brewster Buffalo colours again. It's the sort of a creamy grey, pale sort of creamy grey, and this lipstick red. My wife's lipstick is probably not as strong as what's on this plastic. Here we have the back, and we've got 2 options here. We have got, interestingly, we've got the fighter training unit at, well, they say it's fighter squadron rather than fighter training, so maybe I'm wrong there. So this is at Digby in 1938, and underneath we've also got an option for the Swedish Air Force, who obviously like the plane, they bought it. And it's the Sveflygtoju, I'm not going to murder this, not too good with my Swedish, Royal Swedish Air Force, formed at Barkarby in 1938. So they bought them and used them when they were new, so that's quite good, isn't it? I've also got somebody's, I don't know if it's John or somebody else, somebody's own internal pricing and reference number there. Anyway, without further ado, I think this one really does deserve to be celebrated. It's one of those original kits. Many of you watching this will say, "Oh yeah, it amazes me." People comment and say, "I had 4 of those," and I'm thinking, 4? Greedy. But anyway, I'm sure a lot of you have had the kit, which I haven't. So this is a new experience, and I haven't opened the box. This is literally the first time I've opened it. Only just arrived an hour or so ago. So let's have a look. It's in the little bag. That's nice. Okay, that's good. Oh, it's okay. I think it's just clear part, or is it just a bit off the sprue? I think it's just a bit off the stand sprue, which often falls to bits. It's the sort of most clear parts are always a bit delicate, aren't they? Quite brittle on these stands as well. Even just reviewing them, I've often broken bits off. Yeah, I think it's just a bit off that. Is it? Sure. I'll keep it anyway, just in case. Righty-ho, let's have a look. So we've got Cockpit. It's got a proper enclosed cockpit as well, so it's not quite like World War One. I mean, this is just before with red plastic. This is just before they went to the sort of Hurricane, and they went to the monoplane style. Let's see what it actually says here. We've got a proper purple range instruction leaflet, so this is going to be great to have a look at. An original one. Let's have a see. What have we got here? Look at that. So we've got all the specs here. Span 9.8 metres, 8.35 metres in length. Bristol Mercury, so that's the same engine as in the Lysander, same engine. And then maximum speed 245 miles an hour, so it's a bit quicker than the Lysander. 2 machine guns in the wings, 2 in the fuselage. Okay, so I'll read this out to you rather than let you squint at it. It's probably easier if we do it that way, I suppose. I didn't know it had the same engine as the Lysander, so I've learned something already. Okay, so it says, there we go. Flown for the first time in September 34, I said 33, didn't I? This aircraft, 1 year out, Popmaster, remember? This aircraft was a development of the earlier Gloucester Gauntlet. It's ordered by the RAF in 1935 and 230 machines were built before the introduction of the Mark II version. 72 Squadron were the first to be equipped with the Mark I machines and were also flown by 73 Squadron, which is what's depicted here, whose famous markings are shown on these decals. These aircraft were also supplied to a number of other countries including China, Sweden and Finland. The RAF Gladiator marked the end of the single-seat biplane era of fighters in the Royal Air Force and was in fact obsolescent when it first got delivered into squadron service. However, it did acquit itself well in service. Why haven't they mentioned faith, hope and charity? It's a story that people don't know about. I bet a lot of people listen to this. Some of you will know it, but I bet quite half maybe of you never heard of what I'm talking about. Please look it up. I'm surprised it hasn't mentioned it here, to be honest. Anyway. Right, so on the back, typical 1973 style, we've got our small parts colour plan, colour call-outs, as you can see, looking rather nice. We've got the wheels and tyres, tail wheel, we've got the struts, the conveying struts and the main struts, and you've got your cowling for your engine, your Mercury engine itself, pilot here, usual thing, you know, life jacket, gloves and boots, and then we've got one or two other parts like the propeller. It's a 2-bladed prop, which was it aluminium or wood? I think it was wood actually. And you've got an intake and you've got your prop there as well, and then you've got the original designation showing you the posable stand, and of course the it all shows you with the Spitfire, doesn't it? I show on the stand there, showing how it can be posed. Okay, so let's have a look. I think we've got some decals rattling around here. I can feel them. Oh yes, there we go. So here's the decals, which, do you know, I think those are in surprisingly decent shape. These are 1973. 73 Squadron here and the Swedish Air Force here. Oh, maybe I'm wrong. I think we'll not go any further with that. I think I might just have been a tad optimistic there. I think they might be bonded on for good. Anyway, we'll put that on one side. As I said before, this happens to Matchbox. If you can find a 73 set that are good, it's fairly rare, you know. I think the tissue they use was the problem, not the decals. I think that they just used the tissue that was very absorbent to moisture in the air, and if it gets anywhere where there's moisture in the atmosphere, it seems to absorb it, and then you've got problems. Okay, so we've got the, bring you back in, we've got the colour, the main colour guide here, telling you which colours, generally they refer to Humbrol of course, as that was the era, and here they all are. And then we've got the instructions, which I've got to say are quite faint relatively. I think that they sometimes had these print runs where they weren't that good at it. We've got a seat, and the pilot's going in here onto the floor of the cockpit. Then you bring him into his 2 fuselage halves, put the tail on, or sorry, the rudder I should say, and the tail planes there. Then you're going to build up your cowling, and you've got these machine guns, I think are machine guns on the nose, or are they underneath? Oh, they're at the side, aren't they? The machine guns are here on the Gladiator. Show me ignorance. There you go, they're in the side of the nose, firing through the spinner, World War I fashion, through the prop, I should say, not through the spinner. And you've got your Bristol Mercury engine going in here with the cowlings, and also your spinner and prop. And then you bring it all together with your closed canopy, which does look very like a Spitfire one actually, in terms of its style, very similar. And then you've got your machine guns here going on underneath, you've got your struts, so you're then putting on your top, because it turns it upside down, you're then putting on the top wing, having already done the bottom wing. And then finally, we've got undercarriage going in here, engine goes on, and your tail wheel, and we are done. So there we are. Rather nice, rather nice. So we'll start with the sensible colour. Got a part here, pointed parts coming off the sprue, so we'll look at this one separately, I think. Now then, here we have our propeller. Look at that. Yeah, complete with spinning prop. There we are. It looks quite nicely formed though, doesn't it, in fairness? Look at that. Sometimes you get a colour like this against the black, it's not that easy to see the details, but it's quite nice actually, got to say. It's got that lovely twist to it, a little bit of a seam mark on it, well, that'll soon come out. But they've got the actual, there's a slight sink mark as well, that you can make that out. Might be too difficult for the camera to get it. See that? Just as the prop joins the spinner, there's a bit of a sink mark. But again, you know, it's Matchbox and it's 25p, you can't have everything. But they've got the twist of the prop beautifully formed there. So nice. Very, very nice indeed. Obviously we've got, it doesn't need any introduction, does it? The typical Matchbox stand. In great shape, that one. All complete. And then we're into the meat and potatoes of the kit. Here we go. So we've got our sort of, do you call that colour puce? Not sure what colour that is. It's kind of a sandy grey. But it's nice. Look at the way you've got all the fabric tensioning over the actual spars and the skin of the aircraft. And you've got your ailerons nicely marked out. It's all recessed paddle lines. Underneath you can see on the lower wing, again, a bit more detail there, where all your struts are going in. So you've got, obviously this is what gave it an edge in Malta, I think. Yes, the Italians got these superior performance fighters, but they couldn't manoeuvre like this because it's got two elevators on each side of each wing, so you're going to have massive manoeuvrability. And they would just do a stall turn and just out-turn the Italians and then shoot them up from behind. And this was what helped them to. They had a lot of victories. I don't know the number, but I know the rumour that they shot down 30 or 40 planes at least. They were heroic in their defence, there's no question. Anyway, we've got our Mercury engine there, which looks really nice. Again, nicely formed. And look at these tail planes with the stretched skin effect over the canvas over ribs. It looks really nice, doesn't it? Then you've got your cannons, where my finger is here. These are the cannons under the wing. And we've got the wheels. Let's look at the other side. Yeah, on the other side it's just as nice. Look at that. It's lovely. Really nicely moulded actually, this, especially for one of the first generation to come out of Matchbox. That's a great effort, isn't it? Look at that. The leading edge detail. That's just so nice. Beautiful. Wow. I am very privileged to have been given that as a gift, I think. Now let's have a look at the other one. Yes, the one you've all been waiting for, the red. Well, first of all, we've got a part off the sprue, so we'll have a look at that one. It's the engine cowling. So let's have a little look. Oh, a bit of zoom trouble again. Bring it in a bit for you. Yeah, there we go. That's quite nicely done as well. Yeah, you can see it's got the front end of the Lysander, that's for sure. See it there. So what do we think of the red plastic? Let's have a look. There we go. This is going to be funny, isn't it? Oh, I don't think my lens can take it. I think I need to put... yeah, I'm just struggling a little bit here with this. Will you excuse me just for a moment? Just 1 second. That's better. Now I can handle it. No problem at all, yeah? Let's have a look. That's much better. Let's zoom you in. Who thought this was a good colour though? It's funny, isn't it? Hey, look at that. Yeah, look. The way they've got the ribbing, it's really nicely done actually. And they've got, you know, there's obviously the ribs are a little bit sort of raised detail because they are. That is the very nature of the ribs. But the rest of it, it's all recessed. It's really nicely moulded. That's really detailed. Let's get in a bit closer. There you go. You see it? It's a smashing little kit. This is like the that Lysander, but in miniature. Really, it's got the same sort of attention to the finer details on the surface. It's really nice. They've even got like a little access hatch in the side. They've moulded that in as well. And it's a little bit Hurricane-like, isn't it, in profile when you see it without the wings? A little bit reminiscent of the Hurricane style, or the Hawk of Fury, which it was based on perhaps more. Here we've got the top cowl. I've got the other cowl back to part company, I think. And then we've got these red struts for the wings, like you do. And yeah, again, I mean, look at the fine moulding here. There's no flash there at all. None at all. And you've got your rudder. And you've got your that's the base of the cockpit floor there. And then you've got the other struts, and it's got a helpful arrow to tell you which direction they're supposed to be in. Oh, that's really nice, I've got to say. It's an absolute stunner, isn't it? It's just really, really well moulded, and for a first attempt of a batch of models that came out in late 72, early 73, that's absolutely brilliant. I'm amazed actually how good that is. That's better than a lot of them. I can't look at it for too long. It's a little bit heavy on the eyes, do you know what I mean? Isn't it pretty though? Beautiful moulding though, beautiful moulding. And if you look at, you know, it says it made in England, it's got a date on it, yeah, 73 it says. If you look at what Airfix were doing in 73, for the same money, ooh, don't bother. A lot of them were really flashy and really, really nasty. So, there we go. It's the only downside to buying one of these kits, you're going to have to buy yourself an expensive pair of sunglasses just to cope with that red. So there we have it. What do we think then? Marks out of 10. Well, I've got to be honest. Should I give it 10? I'm just trying to think of anything I don't like. I mean, you have to ignore the fact that the decals have gone off a bit because they always do. That's really nicely done, you know. The only thing that's flawed that I can see, apart from the colour, is really that tiny flaws in that spinner, but I'd be churlish to bring that up, you know. Now remember, I've never seen this kit before. I've never had one in my hand, ever in my entire life, this kit. I'm going to give it 10 out of 10, and I'm not being nostalgic when I do that. It's definitely exceeded my expectations, really nicely. It's fantastic. So, a bit like, was it the Indianapolis, the American ship? That got 10, didn't it? Again, you know, my expectations were set at a certain point, but the moulding quality on that is absolutely brilliant. Such detail to it, you know. Just remember to get your sunglasses out before you open the box, okay? So there we go, that's where I'm at, 10 out of 10. So, I'm not just saying that because I was giving it as a gift either, I promise you. That is a totally objective, for the money, for the date it was manufactured. That's 10 out of 10. No question at all. I forgot something, didn't I? I didn't look at the canopy. Is it going to lose a point here? Never actually did this, did we? It looks like a Spitfire canopy. Let's look at this. And we're having a bit of trouble with our focus. There we go. It is, it's a bit like a Spit canopy, that. Very similar sort of shaping, isn't it? Style. Yeah, but it's nice. Nothing wrong with that. No, I'm standing by my opinion. The Gloucester Gladiator is a 10 out of 10. Yeah, and this is a kit of its time, judged of its time, judged at its price. It's an absolute winner. I'm kicking myself in a way now that I never bought it the first time. That's silly of me, you know. If somebody had one of these and I'd have seen it, I'd probably rushed out and bought it straight away, to be honest. Anyway, what do you think? Was I fair? Perhaps you'll give me 10 out of 10 with a thumbs up, if you don't mind. Thank you very much for joining me. I'm afraid we're coming to the end of our Matchbox kits videos, but I have just got one, possibly two videos to come. I'm going to pay tribute to the people that have helped me, and I'm also going to give my opinion about my favourites of all. And I want to tell you up front that this is nothing to do with which is the best kit, because it's very subjective, and I haven't seen every Matchbox kit. Well, I've just seen them. That's a new one to me, so I can't give you that. Even as an opinion, I can't make that judgment call. But I'm going to just tell you, and I've been thinking about this for a few days. I'm thinking, well, which though? I really struggle with it. I haven't got an absolute favourite. I'm just going to think about it, and I'm going to just give you my sort of gut feeling about not the best one or the favourite even, just the one, maybe the one that gave me the most pleasure. It'll probably be in the form of a few for you to look at. I won't get them all out and do it all again, but I'll just get them out in boxes, and I won't unbox them. And we'll just have a talk about that, and you can give me your feedback and whether you agree or disagree. And you may educate me on others that I've not seen. I did mention if anybody's got a Dauntless. No takers on that, sadly, but that's fine. The other one, Tiger Moth, Dauntless, Puma helicopter, stuff like that. Haven't seen them, so I can't give a definitive which is the best. But I'm going to have a think about it and give my thoughts about which ones I think are amongst the best and which ones gave me the most pleasure. It might not be the results you would expect, or even I would, because the more I think about it, it's where they take you, isn't it? This is really about nostalgia, let's be honest. It's not, I mean, just bits of plastic, aren't they? But they take you back to a time in your youth. They take you back to a simpler, happier time, I think. And yeah, it just, you think of running around in short trousers, having fun with your family and going on holidays. I mean, somebody was telling me about one kit he built, I think it was the Lysander, like the small Lysander, and he said, I built that on holiday. I had this horrible wet holiday down in Cornwall or somewhere, and I said, well, I built the Corsair, which I actually have in front of me, just by accident, genuinely. The Corsair, I built this, not this actual one, but I built one just like that, and I built that when I was on a wet holiday in the Lake District in 1975, in August. And this is the point of them. It's not about how great they are or how perfect they are. It's what they do. How much enjoyment did you get? Now I want you to think about this yourselves, please, because I'd love the feedback in the chat and in the comments going forward, whenever you like. What was your favourite? Which ones gave you most pleasure? You can have a list of 3, 4, 5, doesn't matter. But what did you enjoy about them? Why was it memorable? Why was it special? Tell me about your story. And I'll try and do that with mine. I'll give you quite a short, video, I think. Just say why I think one or two of these were special to me. Other people's experiences will differ, I'm sure. But there'll always be one or two of these that are special to you guys who are watching, I'm sure. And please let's share each other's story. I think it'd be fascinating to hear it. So that's where I'm at. So I'll be coming back perhaps once, definitely once, possibly twice. Just a couple of final thoughts on Matchbox and the company that they were. I think they just reset the entire complete game changer in model kits. And there's little things from Matchbox you still see today, not so much the colours of course, but the fact that they didn't have flash, the fact that they gave you some data and some information. Other manufacturers have picked up that concept and they've run with them. The only disappointment to me about the current situation is 3 things. I've said it before, say it again. And I'll go into this in more detail, but it's instructions, which I'm going to say, stands and dioramas. And those 3 things, I think we are it's the 21st century, I think we're very poorly served from a lot of manufacturers who should know better, actually. And I think that they should, if anybody's out there working for one of these manufacturers, have a look at the comments that I get on my videos about Matchbox. Look at the love and the passion and the enjoyment that they brought to people. Why are you not picking up the best ideas here and running forward with modern manufacturing processes? You would be onto a winner. Yes, it would cost a little bit more, but you can just put that on the retail price. Prices are going through the roof anyway. People are still going to buy them. If the product is good enough, it will sell the product. It makes people desire the product. It's called shelf appeal. Anyway, I'll get into more of that, I think, in the final show. Thank you very much for joining me. I hope you enjoyed it. Please stay well, stay safe, and come back and see the final couple of programmes I've got lined up. and we'll see if we can have one last little bit of nostalgia and a bit of good old-fashioned fun from our earlier years. And in the meantime, thanks very much for joining me. Take care of yourselves, and bye for now.